Wednesday, number 400. No, sorry. This is Wednesday, number 545. We have been gathering every week to fight for justice for all victims of police violence. Mic check, mic check.
Mic check, and thank you, Brother Ben. It's so good to have you back here in our circle. Thank you so much. We definitely miss you while you was gone, but Ben is never gone because even when he's not here, he's still making sure that we get what we need. So a big shout out, Ben. But as my brother told you, this is West Wednesday 545. So stay tuned. We don't have any special guests tonight. That was intentionally done because unfortunately tonight we have the longest sad list ever for police brutality. It's awful. Like we have 70 names, guys. Like that is disgusting. Starting from December the, let me look at my notes real fast. But actually starting from
77.
December the 13th. Starting from December the 13th, we had set all those murders. Like that is awful. And guess what? That's the only one from gun violence. What about the ones like my brother, unfortunately, who was brutally beat to death? What about the ones like Freddie Gray? The list goes on because we know that gun violence isn't the only form or fashion of a way a person is murdered. So again, I want you guys to stay tuned. We will be back. I want to talk about some upcoming events. I just got a lot that I want to unpack with you guys. So stay tuned. Unfortunately, as we play this video, which it is a new year, it's the first West Wednesday of the new year, guys. And we also need to work on getting our video updated because at the end of it, it says it's talking about Marilyn Mosey when she prosecuted, but now the burden lies on our state's attorney now, our new state's attorney. So just hold tight and we will be right back after we play the awful video that we play week after week when we're online of pretty much victims that survived. Ruiz, he was one of the first killers who started murdering my unarmed brother for no reason, for driving too slow towards a stop sign. Like, are you kidding me? No one deserves to be brutally murdered. But please stay tuned for the video and we will be right back. Mic check.
Can't stop. Won't stop. Till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following newly released video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up.
No, why would you do that? Why would you say that?
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz. In a newly released video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly.
Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head.
hog-tied me. And immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, Sid, what's wrong with it? Improper way with it. There's no such thing as an improper way.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get it up.
Profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record me. For what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are two law-abiding citizens that we're getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardez Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 or 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they could never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Brother Ben, for playing that video. But as I go into my talking points tonight, I wanted to just pretty much let you guys know that Jorge Bernard Ruiz has not been arrested yet. He is pretty much working with promotions. He is married to Michelle Battle and the state's attorney. So that's why I feel right. That's why I feel as though we can't get a fair trial because he's married to someone. He's in bed with someone in the prosecutor's office. So how could we possibly get a fair trial? You know, and it's just sad and disgusting. So I wanted to highlight that. Then I also wanted to highlight, even though we always talk about Ruiz, there in my brother case were 16 additional officers, including himself, made 17 that murdered one unarmed man for pretty much nothing. Like my brother was brutalized, murdered for anything. I don't know if you guys can see me, but my screen went blank. So give me 1 second. I may have to phone. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. And it's like every time I try to talk about important stuff, my phone goes, my device, phone, all that stuff freezes up, go dead. But they're not going to stop the message. But what I wanted to talk about tonight, one of my high points was we need to stop letting people use our pain for our gain. And the reason why I wanted to highlight that, and Brother Ben, you might want, if you could put the picture of me, I know it's last minute, but for some reason, like this never happened before, that my device is pretty much going out without like, and I'm charging up my iPad. But if you could put up a picture of me, if that's fine, that picture with me and my brother, I'll give you a few minutes.
Yeah,
if you
I can
need
do
it.
that.
Yeah, that way
The
I
video
won't.
is working fine on. The video is working fine on my end though, but if it cuts out, I'll put the picture up. If that's cool.
Yeah, cause it just keeps on cutting out. Like I gotta keep on touching it, and I wanted to look down. If you could just put it on for 1 minute for me, and then you can take it back off, because I wanted to highlight these points that I wrote down tonight that I think are really critical and very important. Yeah. So I'll give you a second. All right, give me 1 second. Hold on.
There you go. Stand by, everyone. Tawanda is rebooting her device and she'll be joining us momentarily. Mic check, mic check. In the meantime, if y'all can share in the chat where you're tuning in from, that'd be great. Welcome back, Tawanda. Oh, her device cut out again. Mic check.
While we're waiting for Tawanda's phone to get in order, I just want to mention that in the introduction, Tawanda mentioned that she rounded off and said there have been 70 police shootings, deadly police shootings, since we last announced these shootings on our West Wednesday 3 weeks ago. Actually, the number is a little worse. It's 77, and that's just in a 24-day period from December the 8th through the end of the month. Do we have Tawanda back now?
Yes, I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you so much. And yeah, I do apologize. It is 77, not 70, and that's just awful. So again, thank you, Uncle Bill, and thank you, Brother Ben, for holding it down while I had that disconnection. I'm not sure what's going on, but again, I wanted to I was highlighting the fact that Ruiz is one of the first ones who actually stopped my brother, start murdering him, and he has a horrible history of brutality. And did he get, demoted or anything? No. In fact, he got placed in high ranks. It's just sad and disgusting. He's a sergeant, and it's just sad how they move these killers around. And it's not a mystery, and it's not even just in my brother case. It's like if you hear about any, like, a lot of these high profile cases, you will see where it's not the officer's first kill, or you'll find out that they have a history of that. And that's why tonight I wanted to talk about the importance of not letting people use our pain for their gain. And I wanted to literally go back tonight because it had popped up when I shared this last year on my timeline. I shared something called the Casual Killing Act. And the Casual Killing Act pretty much was established. It was a legislation that was established, unfortunately, in the 1600s. And it's pretty much was established in 1669. And it pretty much started the killing of slaves, right? And then in 1670, it's pretty much said that, whomever was baptized, that they could be free. And then it was also forbidden to kill Christian slaves or Christian servants. And then it also went literally 2 years later in the 1672, they put some more legislation down that if, a slave resisted arrest, that they could be killed or injured. And that's disgusting. And that started in 1672. So after you try in between to use religion, and it's just disgusting how they use certain things for for their gain. And that's my whole point. And then you turn right around 2 years later and you say whoever, resists the police, like being arrested, could actually be wounded or killed. And then it also even they even added a piece of legislation that said that you can compensate, anyone that, got murdered, you can compensate the family. And we're talking about this was in 1672. I wasn't born, wasn't thought about. None of us probably was born or even thought about. But my whole point of saying is now we're in 2024. And the reason why I'm talking about legislation, because it's very important, because right now, we're going to be going with the legislators in Annapolis. They're going to be going at different things. And it's just sad and disgusting, again, that some of these people use our pain for their gain. And right now, as hard as our sister Jill Carter has been fighting to save our babies, to save our black and brown babies from literally, having human rights, like having human rights violated. Like, why would you want to take a child into custody and then question them without their parent A being around or without a lawyer? But yet, on the same breath, you have the officers' Bill of Rights that allows these killer cops not even to get interrogated, but they get an interview, and then they literally get like 30 to some. And in my brother's case, they had some of them came in 45, 60 days later to give a statement. They gave 3 statements. One was off the record, and I felt like they were like practicing. The second one, the lawyer kind of tightened it up and made them redo it. And the third one was almost like the Bible was cast in stone, but it was written so sweet. And that was the one that was recorded as their truths. And that is so disgusting. And I look at, like, you got this for the officer killer rights, which I call it, which is the officer Bill of Rights, that protects all these killers, and then all this qualified immunity that they keep trying to throw in everything that really pretty much lets them do whatever they want to do, and they get away with it. They don't even get a smack on the wrist, but yet you want to take away certain things that cover our babies. We really need to pay attention to what is going on, and it's just sad and disgusting. And that's why, even though I'm the one that always believe in fighting for our rights, going to Annapolis, testifying and all that kind of stuff, but I feel as though we just need to devour this system, because at the end of the day, it never was fixed. Right? Because people keep saying that the system is broke, right? The system is just broke. We can fix it. That first of all, it's not broken, because that means at some point it was operating, it was functioning the way that it should be, and that's not true. We're talking about since the 1600s. That we were pretty much targeting. We're going through that same stuff, even though they're not calling the Casual Killing Act, but they're still killing us. And the first thing that these animals do is say, someone resisted arrest, and they'll kill them. That's the first thing. It's almost, if you look at any case where any of our loved ones were murdered or even attacked, even like I said, all the victims don't die. We have more victims that survive through all this horrible stuff, these horrible attacks. Most of the people survive through it, but they be left, pretty much suffering, and their life will never be the same again. But the first thing they always say, someone resisted. And that's the same exact thing. And again, like I said, they are using us to, like, with all like these unsolved shootings in the community. The first thing I say, well, we need more gun laws, we need more this and that, and then they pretty much are targeting the teenagers, because everything is almost, the teenagers are carjacking, the teenagers are killing, the teenagers are doing this, the teenagers. That's all you hear. You don't hear all the positive stuff. And there's so many teenagers out here that are graduating from high school that pretty much are holding the families down, that are taking care of their parents and mothers and fathers and daughters and all type of stuff, and still doing their thing. But they don't talk about them. They want to just always, every time, and it seems like you don't even have to watch Fox 40 Live. You could turn to mostly all the news outlets are targeting teenagers. That's like first it was the squeegees, the squeegee adults, the squeegee kids, foolishness, and then now when we ended 2023, they want to like, for the first time in forever, the crime rate has went down. We're under 300 homicides, but all these people were shot that survived. It's horrible. And then the first thing they want to, it's because Ivan Bates is not playing with people. It's because this and because of that. it's a bunch of foolishness. At the end of the day, they're not solving any crime. Who is doing what? And we are so quick to let them use our pain for their gain. We're so quick. We point out each other every time, but yet they're not catching no one. Just like, and it's unfortunately in the Brooklyn Day shooting, which was horrible, where they just treated people like not matter, and it was people, and this is pretty much went on for over a decade, where people got together in a community and they had a big cookout and celebration and all that type of stuff. And at the same time, you supposedly saying that you got a curfew out for teenagers, right? Teenagers can't be out at this time. We're gonna haul them in, but mostly pretty much as they predicted, because I wasn't there, but as the media outlets predicted, and as I dig up to do my own conscious consumer, I see that there was a lot of teenagers there, like a lot of young people were there. And it's just sad, unfortunate, but they still have not murdered those two beautiful people. They keep on like, yeah, they caught a couple teenagers that had guns out, whatever. But at the same time, you have not caught the killers that actually murdered, that you can prove that they murdered beautiful queen and the beautiful king. They have not yet to this day. But I give you, just look at when white people are murdered. Let's be crystal clear. I'm gonna call a spade, but when Caucasian people are murdered, it's totally different. They find the killer in weeks. And much like it, like we wouldn't even be dealing with this. Wouldn't have happened in Roland Park. You would not have had people unprotected and 911 saying people are shooting, and they pretty much they ignored it. And it's disgusting, and nobody's getting held accountable. And their fix is, again, use us for our pain and say, okay, we're not going to do anything. We hear, it's the teenagers just say. And then it's sad because I look at too, when I went to several town hall meetings, shout out to the West Coalition, and shout out to Lottie Dottie and everybody that showed up at different town hall meetings, Worthless Worley, campaigning and all that kind of stuff. And pretty much we were going there letting them know that he was not worthy of his seat. Again, that's what they like. And it's just said they use our pain, for their game. But I said all that to say we need to change that. Like, this is a new year. I'm tired of swinging at the air, misting. It's time that we make the connection. And making the connection is we all need to pull together and realize that. And that's why we pretty much always not only talk about police brutality, we also talk about community violence. We don't do police brutality. Yeah, give or take, I was drug into this. I never asked for this. I felt like somebody pulled me out my bed and put me into a nightmare that I never asked for. They put my whole entire family into a nightmare. But the whole point, this is my thing, talking about police brutality. That is the number one thing on my list, but it's all connected. And I say it's connected, and I call it the highway of hell, because all of these issues surrounding affect us all. And what they try to do is separate us. They try to make it seem like, oh, well, we got, the mothers over here who lost their daughters and sons, and family members through community violence. And then we have the people over here doing police brutality. We have the homeless people out there over here in this section. They section us off, and we should be walking together, holding hands, knocking down this goddamn system. Because like I said, the reason why I brought up that Casual Killing Act, they were so desperate back then to actually use religion, because me as a Christian woman, which this is not the West Coalition, this is Tawanda Jones, but me as a Christian woman feel some type of way because you will use religion. And then still to this day, they always say that because they think, a Christian is literally supposed to forgive, because we're not going to get into heaven and all this foolishness. God forgive me, but God is working something in me, because I don't care what, if I'm a Christian, a Muslim, whatever, with a religion, with no religion, no one should be getting murdered. But like I said, these people get so desperate, they will use anything out of their tool bag to bring us down, and it's disgusting. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And speaking of pulling together, we as a coalition, we looked at and said, you know what? When we get to our 555th West Wednesday, we said that's like a mark, because if we waited, like Adina said, if we waited for the 600 West Wednesday, that wouldn't be until next year, which we're still going to do it big, this, that, and the third. As a coalition, collectively came up with five, keeping the movements alive. And what we're saying is we're going to be planning, and I want, different coalitions and groups of whatever you're fighting for, whether you're fighting for homeless people, whether you're fighting for community violence, whether you're fighting Jews for justice, whatever you are fighting for, we need to pull together, galvanize, because on that day, and that day is going to be on, let me look at the date. March the 13th will be that date. So we're going to do something big. I will be keeping you guys posted. Pretty much going to be doing 555, keep the movement alive. And we're going to be doing the biggest protest ever. And I hope Lottie Dottie and everybody will pull together and let's fight this system together, because if they keep us separated, that's how they win. They make us feel like we're over here. And I even seen people that try to even separate different people in the coalition groups. They'll send people to infiltrate and start up a whole bunch of foolishness and then have everybody uptight and pointing fingers at each other. Let's not point fingers at each other. Keep our fingers pointed to a wicked system that don't give a damn about us. And we're talking about 400 plus years of them murdering us, enslaving us, doing all this stuff, and they're still doing it on a higher level, and they're still using the same tactics, doing the same exact things. At what point will we say collectively enough is enough? At what point will we say, you know what, you're not going to do? And that's why in every uprising they get really afraid, because then you have everybody pulling together and they get so shook up. Then they're making up lies. They do all type of stuff. Oh, they're going to kill us. They get so scared and shook when we all pull together. Like, it's disgusting. But that's what we need to do. Pull together and, keep this movement alive. Because at the end of the day, hope is all we have. If we ever lose hope, guess what? That is a terrible thing to lose, because hope gives you the opportunity to push and try to strive to make things better and feel like, you're hopeful. Okay, everything is not lost and gone. I might not be winning now, but at some point I will have a situation or a time where it might turn around in my favor. So we're trying to keep hope alive and trying to pull together. We have to. It's a must. Like, we cannot continue on taking and doing things, the wrong way. And I mean, and at the end of the day, it's really no wrong and right way, because if anybody figured it out, it would have been figured out decades ago. So we all as human are trying to just work together. But if you notice that in any movement, when you have strong leaders, they always come, target them, they get murdered. The retribution is really ridiculous. It's serious. Like, it's real. So with that being said, I'm just saying, this is the time that we need to pull together and have our voices heard and saying enough is enough. We don't have to wait until, unfortunately, quarterly, when somebody gets murdered, like we saw the life leave out of George Floyd when we were going through the pandemic. Why do we have to be a people to see that kind of stuff and be like, oh, this is when we're going to make a difference? Like, when Freddie Gray was murdered, we heard him screaming and howling. They had to lift his whole body up. He couldn't even stand up, and they threw him in a van. And then what did they do? They didn't blame none of the 6 murderers on him. No, they said, oh, the van killed Freddie Gray. The van killed Freddie Gray. The van did it. They rather blame a goddamn van than humans. Like, this is ridiculous. The stuff that we see happen. And even in Eric Gardner's case, we see him getting choked out on TV. We see him getting choked out on TV. And, you know, and we say, oh my, he got choked out for having a pack of cigarettes. He was selling cigarettes. That's not what happened. Like literally, stop letting them feed us the nerve. Stop letting them feed us the narrative. Because at the end of the day, they're making up stuff. Like literally, the first video that I saw of Eric Gardner that day, he was murdered. He was not. We're not talking about what he might have been doing 24 hours before if he was selling loose one. Is that a crime that pretty much deserved murder? No, that's a petty crime. You won't even get charged for that. Like that's a misdemeanor. But my whole point is they rather make the victim look like they're to blame and their life wasn't worthy. Like they even started blaming Freddie. I'm not sorry, it's not Freddie Gray. They started blaming Eric Gardner's weight. They started literally after they couldn't find nothing else. Oh, well, he was a walking time bomb. He would have died anyway because he was overweight. All it's like foolishness. Even when my brother's case, as healthy as my damn brother was, they try to say, oh, Mr. West had a bad heart that they didn't know, an underlying heart problem that he didn't know about. Get out of here. But my brother had a physical that I was with him, that I bear witness, that I took him to 2 weeks before he get killed. Paperwork to prove it and all. Healthy, okay? But then 2 weeks later, oh, you just dropped dead. But it wasn't the fact that you got beat to death, stomped, killed, tased, murdered, like tortured in broad daylight. It wasn't none of that, they beat you worse than a game, but it was none of that. You didn't even look at but at the end of the day, let all of us jump on somebody and say, oh, the only thing I did was hit him with a stick. I bust him upside his head with a bottle. We all going down. We already know we ain't even all got to participate, but the fact that we are all together, they going to slam, throw the book at us, the key. We will never see the streets again. But when these killer cops do it, they always try to make it seem like it's a love story, like they did nothing wrong. We need to hold them accountable. We need to be in Annapolis testifying. I don't care if they act like they're being disrespectful, falling all this horrible stuff that they do to disrespect us. We need to stand our grounds and be in Annapolis as much as we can, up in their face, supporting our sister Jill and saying, no, y'all talking about taking away, baby rights. What about take away the officer killer rights? Let's get rid of this qualified immunity. They're trying to push. We're trying to take local control of the police. And had it not been for my sister Dina, seeing they try to put that clause inside of that, like they will do anything to water down what we're trying to do. If you're going to throw water on it, it's pointless. All it is just them pretty much pretending that they're doing so we can pretty much accept us being murdered. It's like they're placing us as frogs in a pot. And if you know about frogs in a pot, if you pretty much put frogs in a pot and you got that water temperature down, those frogs will lay there and die. You can just keep on turning the pressure up. They'll get hot, but they will lay there and die. Let's not be frogs in a pot. Let's hop there. Let's not even get the pot. Let's call this dirty system out. Let's knock it down, build it back up. Because to me, it's not working. It's not working. And it's been designed to wipe us out. And it's going to keep being designed to wipe us out. Like everything that failed us, they keep bringing back. Just like I'll give you prime example. A few years ago, they took away all these speed cameras. They said they showed that they were not effective, that they was actually taking pictures of cars that wasn't even speeding, and they got rid of it. And then what happened when somebody else comes on and it happens in their attention, they brought it back. And then not only, they done got funky with it. They even got speed cameras on highways, all type of stuff. They getting jiggy with it, and we accepting it. We accept it. Like we gotta stop accepting this foolishness. Like literally, I'm so mad. I don't anybody know me. No, all the cars go around me. Like, oh well, I don't drive under the speed limit, but I ain't driving above it. You will never catch me driving above it unless it's like, I don't know, you never gonna catch me doing that. Cause I'm like, I just is how I drive. I'm comfortable. I'm like, I'm not gonna mess my car up, because if I hit a bump or a dent, I could pay thousands of dollars for one part. So I'm not gonna speed. But yet I just got finished paying all these speeding tickets, everything. I had almost $800 or $900 worth of speeding tickets. I don't even speed, bro, from a camera, from different cameras. And then they want to throw flags on, but we have been into this capitalist system that we keeps allowing to play us from our skin color to our religion and just everything. We need to knock it down, build it back up, because that's the only way it's going to work. They playing games with us. They playing mind games. They're mentally screwing us around, pretending that they more. Meanwhile, people are getting killed. Meanwhile, I'm sitting back waiting for the AG's office, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but I was real excited that the sister Ovette did a very amazing article. It just came out, like I think it came out last year, at the end of last year, like December the 31st, I believe it was, or like I don't know, but sometime December the 30th or whatever. But it was a Washington Post. She did an amazing. That's the first time, shout out, that this sister got all the facts. It was no regurgitation of what the killer cop said. You know, it was no, oh, Mr. West struggled. He was scared to go back to jail. Like, really? Who would rather die on the street than then go back to jail for what? He didn't have any drugs on the alleged drugs, guys, that they said my brother had a bulge in his socks and he had on pounds. First of all, my brother had on ankle socks, okay, with low cut tennis shoes. So there was no bulge in his socks. Where was the bulge? And then let's get to the facts. We went into the depositions where the killers were, sworn, and they're out of their mouth, out of Killer Ruiz, the one I highlight, out of this maniac mouth, when he was on the stand and he was asked, well, why didn't you never test or submit none of the drugs? Because my attorneys went down there to seek these alleged drugs because they wanted their people to test them. And when you go through these type of trials, if there's drug, both sides get the right to see what evidence you have and get to have their experts come in and kind of talk about it. Well, when my attorneys went down to go down there years ago, and that's why I was so mad at Merlin. That was a part of the new news that I gave her. For one, there was never any drugs. And the information was on a national level because I made sure that once I got the information out of court, I made sure that Lottie Dottie and everybody knew about it. And it's just sad that through all this hell, through all this nightmare, I have been the one pushing my brother's case. I've been the one, the investigator. I've been the one going in my pocketbook, getting $50,000 out to have my brother's body examined for the ground, because you're not going to lie and say my brother died from a bad heart and dehydration, like he had excited delirium where he had drugs in his system. He got exuberant strength and he died from a heart attack. And that's what, when they beat these people to death, that's what they make them all seem like they died from. Even in Anthony Anderson case, they pretty much try to say he ingested drugs, he swallowed drugs, and that wasn't true. They lied. And Anthony Anderson was murdered a year before my brother was. So if you take and you study, case search, do your own research, okay? You can look up and see the facts. It will have you bobbling your head. And a lot of stuff that they just let ride, like what people representing anybody's family would let some of the stuff that these maniacs did to my damn brother ride. It's sickening, guys. It is sickening. But meanwhile, we got the AG office sitting back, to me, wasting time. But meanwhile, all this time is going on, because meanwhile, life is lifing. People are dying off. People are getting murdered. People are getting forgotten. Whole age, we talk about a decade ago. You let a whole decade go in between the truth, and it makes me mad as hell, because for a decade, day one, I've been out here. My family been out here. My supporters been out here. I have never missed a beat. That is why West Wednesday was created, to be up in their face with the facts. Like, you're not going to do my family like that. Oh no, try something else. You're not going to do this shit. Excuse my language. You're not going to do it. And meanwhile, they're still doing it. They're still doing it. And then they letting all this time by. And that's what pisses me off, because I can see if I even took a vacation and got to a mental state, because some people do, and that's okay. If you get to a mental state and you're like, well, I can't deal with this, I need a break, because I'd rather you take a break than have a breakdown. But me even get ready to go through a breakdown, I'm like, I'm not taking a break. Hell to the no, I'm not taking a break. I done been out there to West Winds, all recorded. I done been on my sick bed sometimes. My children have been sick in the hospital. I have left them like, mommy gonna be right back. Mommy got to show up at this cold corner. Mommy got to go tell your uncle's story. And I have never missed the West Wednesday. Even the night, the hardest West Wednesday, and all that stuff is painful, but the hardest West Wednesday I ever had to do in my life was the day my cousin get murdered on a West Wednesday. He got murdered that morning at 12:19. And the crazy part, I was just on the news talking about who? Killer Ruiz. And then Tavon Anderson is murdered. And I had to not cancel West Wednesday, not get my mental together, cried all night, screamed and hollered, all that stuff. And guess what? I didn't miss West Wednesday. So my whole point of saying all this, I will not let them use my pain for their gain. I will not let them do it. I will not let them do it. I done been times on vacation with my family. I have not, and to be honest, I have not took a serious vacation where as though I really had my big toe in the air and I'm just really enjoying life and life is life. I won't do that until these damn killer cops are accountable. And I know that sounds crazy. Call it whatever. Don't judge me. Judge your mother. That's how I feel. That's not West Coalition. That's Tawanda Jones speaking from my heart. Don't judge me, because until you walk my shoes and feel this pain, do not judge me. If you're going to judge me, judge my pain. Judge what they did. And then you be right out there and you don't miss a beat and they play you like you missed some time. Like, I was there. Like, how you not going to invite me to the party when I'm the one who set up the goddamn table? I'm the one who put the menu together. I'm the one who did all this, and then you shut me out. You shut me out. Do you know how hurtful that is? And I'm so glad that my camera's off because I'm in tears right now. It's so hurtful and it's so painful to be disrespected. And go through hell trying to fight for what's right. I done literally had this thing follow me back to my job when I was fighting for Abdul Salam. I was called as a character witness, whereas though I was hoping that they would have brought anything up about Ruiz, then I could have been brought up about, okay, did y'all know Ruiz murdered Tyrone West? 14 days later, after he brutalized Abdul, and nothing was done. But me showing up there could have got me killed. And if that wasn't enough, because somebody cut Abdul, we literally left the courtroom, not making this stuff up. This is documented. We left the courtroom. Someone cut the tire away from my damn axle. So if I would have just rolled off real fast, I could have been murdered. I could have been killed. That's what they designed to do. And the crazy part, I parked my car, I'll never forget, by City Hall under the bridge where all the police cars at. And I'm like, why would I play myself like that? I'm in my mind. I wasn't thinking. All I was thinking about was Abdul Salam and my brother. My park right there, go get my car. The whole tire literally come off. And I still give a shout out to Uncle Bill and JC, who sat with me all night to wait for Roadside to come and tow my car all night. And then Uncle Bill told me a spot I could take my car to, and that was the spot that pretty much told and said, oh no, you couldn't have hit no power. This was cut away, and my insurance went up for that. But if that wasn't enough, I go through that hellish nightmare. I return to work to get kicked out my classroom, to get put on support staff. Do you know how embarrassing and hurtful that was? But because I am who I am, I'm never going to quit. I don't care what the adversary throws at me. I'm going to still stand my ground. They will not use my pain for their gain. And I need everybody to stand up, no matter how hard it is. Because guess what? It's easy to fold down, bend down, and just let them do whatever they want to do, but it's hard as hell to stand there and not waver, be like a tree planted by the water. Could you imagine a tree planted by the water and it's not going nowhere? That's some strong stuff. That is exactly how I am in this. I'm not going nowhere, and God is my protection. When I feel certain things and God let me see certain things and all that. I get vision of things before it happened. It's crazy, but that's nothing but God. That's just me. That's not the West Coalition. That's me talking. But I said all that's to say, please, guys, stop letting them use our pain for their gain. That's my message tonight. I'm going to go ahead and let Ben in a few seconds if he can, or somebody, maybe Uncle Bill can read the questions. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to go into our sad list where we have 77 names. And it was like, I wrote it in my notes and I can't believe that I said 70, because in my mind, I'm not accepting 77. Like literally, you're talking about from December up until now. And that's why and this is not, like I said, this is not all the murders, right? This is not even the people that was brutalized that survived. Like, why do they feel so comfortable with killing us? You know why? Because they're the only ones that can get away with it. I just let you guys know we're still living in that casual killing act, that enslavement foolishness. That's how they look at us. They look like our life don't even exist. If you know, they look not even a whole human being in the Constitution. We half of a man. Like, are you kidding me? We're humans. They hate us so much before we even born. They plan our demise as our children fail in school, struggling with a system that they taught us, that teaches us nothing about ourselves, teaches us nothing about what the hell we've been through and what we got to go through, teaches us what they want us to know. You know, teaches us completely what they want us to know. And we supposed to fold down and bow down to that foolishness. It's sad and disgusting. And meanwhile, with the children that can't keep up with it, you know, they'll quickly try to, first thing they do is try to always medicate them, throw them on drugs. No, you're not going to do that. And I remember even being a teenage parent, and I'll stop babbling on, but it's a lot because this is how dirty the system is. They even tried to use, like I said, this night topic is using pain for their game. When I had my first two, I was a teenager. I was a baby myself, having babies. But my point of saying is, I still was determined. I was not going to drop out of school. I was going to finish. You know, I was going to do everything that I needed to do. But the whole point of what I'm trying to say, as a teenager, being pulled into the room with adults, you know, talking about my youngest son, you know, as he was struggling in a system to just like he was helping. He wasn't even doing nothing. Like he was doing all his work. He would get bored because the teacher, and that's what really pumped me up to be a teacher, my son, because I'm like, you know, it hit me earlier, like the teacher needs to tweak her damn lesson plan. If the children get bored, that's not the children's fault. That's her fault. Lesson plan, you know. So they pulled me in a meeting, then they did it. My mother wasn't. I'm like, well, Kim, Mama, they was like, well, this is your son, you know, we just want to talk about him. I was like, talk about what? So I go into the meeting because I felt like they played the mind game with me. Oh, well, you know, who's the mother? Is that is the grandmother the mother? Does she have guardianship, or do you? So they played that mind game. So I went in there. They thought I went in there without even knowing the knowledge, because my mother would always be my mouthpiece. But anyway, I go in there by myself, and they try to hit me with all this was, well, you know, your son, he you know, he keeps on getting up. Like I said, well, what? I said, he not finishing his work. No, he's finishing his work. I said, well, let me see his grades. My son had all E's, y'all. I'm not lying. I'm like, so his grades are all E's. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but no, but he gets up and he want to help other people. Well, you should encourage that. He should be thanked. Well, I said, what are you trying to say? Well, you might want to talk to his pediatrician, because we feel as though like he gets up a lot and all that kind of stuff. He might have ADHD. I said, Miss, no, your lesson plan might be boring. It sounds like my child is bored. And they looked at me like, what the hell she talking about? And sure enough, by the grace of God, God is so good. My son don't smoke. He don't drink. He ain't never been locked up. But what if I would have been that teenager parent that would have had them in my ear like, oh my God, let me tell his pediatrician, they saying my son won't sit still, put him on some medication. And the stuff that I learned through this dirty system, the stuff put in that stuff is equivalent to crack. Like my son would have been messed up just from the medication alone. And then once you put them on them strong medications that control their minds and thoughts, it's a nightmare. And I'm not saying some children that really need it, because you do really have children that need the medication. When there's a need, then go ahead. But that's like how you sitting and I'm not coughing. I don't have none of the side effects, but you want to give me cold and flu medicine. I'm not even coughing. My tooth hurts, but I'm going to go on the damn store and I'm going to buy some cold and flu medicine for feeling weak. You know, all this foolishness that don't apply to me. So I said all that to say, stop letting these devils use our pain for their game. And I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to turn it and I'm going to flip it over to my brother. We can actually read the questions in the comments. And from there, we will straight go into, I promise, we're going to go into this unfortunate, very sad list in a few minutes, guys. Mic check.
Mike, check.
So, Bill, Uncle Bill, I got a question. Do you feel like reading it since Ben is working everything else
Sure.
to touch? And before you read it, also real quick, I wanted to send all my love to Uncle Bobby. I want to send all my love to my Auntie B. You know, they're coming up on Oscar's Grant 15th anniversary. You know, angelversary. That's what we call it because he's unfortunately was murdered, and that family's been out there for like forever. You know, fighting and doing all type of wonderful stuff. And there's a lot of people this month that are celebrating the loss of their child and things of that, just like going through that. So I'm just sending prayer and loves out to everybody. Because I had the list yesterday, it was like almost 18 people, but of course it got erased out my phone. I go back today, I'm like, I'm gonna go and write it in my nose, put it down, and I look in there and it's gone. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So that was a reason why I was a little bit late coming on, because I wanted to name everybody that was, that I remember seeing. But I think I saw Xavier's name on there. His mom Latoya was pretty much on our show a few weeks ago. Big shout out to her. But just a shout out to anybody that is going through that. Just I'm sending loads of love to you. We're sending positive vibes and everything to you guys. So thank you, Uncle Bill. It's all yours. Mic check.
Mike, check. So for comments during tonight's live stream, the first is from Quincy Marley. It's actually a visual of a solidarity fist. Then we have from Hillary, mic check. From Bruce, mic check. From Bruce, good evening all. From Judah, mic check. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year to you too, Judah.
Yeah, yes, Happy New Year.
From Noyan Muhammad, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solidarity fists.
Yes.
And he also said powerful video. I already mentioned about the number of police killings was 77, and so I had a comment about that. I'll skip. From me, responding to something you said, Tawanda, yes, we need to devour this system. From Hillary, West Wednesday 555, keep the movement alive, protest on March 13th, 2024. From Angela, keep hope alive. And also, that's right, sis, responding to one of the points that you were making.
Yes,
Dan,
yes.
From Dan, I am so impressed with your determination and love for your brother to continue this fight, never giving up. Keep the movement alive, always there for you. And AC Britt says, to also in response to one of your comments, sad but true. So those are all the comments this evening.
Oh, thank you so much, Uncle Bill. I appreciate that. And before we go into the sad list, I want us to take 2 minutes, and then I'll read the our I'm sorry, my mind is over the place because I cannot believe we have to actually read 77 names in addition to. Do we have a community violence list as well? If we have that.
Yes,
Yes.
Okay. And before we go into all the sad stuff, I want to encourage everybody that if you guys aren't doing anything on Monday, which is the 8th at 7:00, we will be at the Bird in Hand bookstore. Joe Giordano and the Tree Scant. We're gonna be this book. Yeah, so we're definitely going to be promoting his book, a beautiful book. I urge everybody to go buy it. And I love the fact that our brother's not selling it on Amazon. That's why he's doing all this stuff to go to the different bookstores. So I encourage everybody to come out, buy a book, even if you can't come out. Like, go to one of the bookstores, buy a book. It's 1323, very powerful stitch and all that stuff that he took. And he always give Ben a shout out, who helped him do certain things, as well as other people that helped him out in the movement. So big shout out. So yeah, let's right now, before I read our before I read our list, let's just take 2 minutes, guys. 2 minutes. If you enter praying, say a prayer. If not, that's okay. And let's come back at,
And this is Benjamin. I apologize. My phone overheated and died. I had to restart.
oh, no problem. So let's take 2 minutes. Thank you guys. Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you guys so much. And the time now is 8 o'clock. So we might be out like 1 minute short, and I apologize, but I want to stay on.
Tawanda, we lost your voice.
All right, I was trying to read our mission statement, but I was trying to go through it on my phone, but I guess it's not going to let me do it that way, and I don't have the paper. But it's pretty much saying it is our mission not to disrespect anyone's family, and we don't know where like the lists come from. We read one a local level and one that's on a national level, and we pretty much don't condone violence of any type. We pretty much urge people that if you're going through any type of disputes or anything, we encourage you guys to resolve it in a respectful way. You can go through mediation, anything, that's non-violent to, pretty much be there. And then we're not trying to upset anybody with reading the names of, and we apologize because we don't have all the names, we don't have all the answers, but we're just coming from a place of care. And again, we know nothing about what's going on with cases. Like, I'm sorry, like when we read this list tonight, we have no idea about what's going on with it. So we're just trying to be respectful, and that's pretty much the mission statement. And Uncle Bill, you can start with the police brutality list, and then we'll just take it from there. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
So this is a little difficult and painful to read this list because it's such a horrendous number of police murders, but I will do what I can here. So we're starting on December the 8th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. 32 years old, killed by police. Mark Carlson.
Mark
Carlson.
Also on the 8th, this time in Lubbock, Texas. 34 years old, killed by police. Manuel Gillen.
Manuel Gillen.
Once again, on December the 8th in New Bern, North Carolina, 25 years old, Daniel Rivera.
Daniel Rivera.
On the following day, December the 9th in San Antonio, Texas, 27 years old, Ray Garcia.
Ray Garcia.
In Grand Prairie, Texas, on the same day, the 9th, a woman whose name has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. On the 10th of December in Rochester, Washington, 33 years old, Darren Evans.
Darren Evans.
On the same day in Los Angeles, California, a woman killed by police, 25 years old, Darvette Brown.
Darvette Brown.
Again on the 10th, in Griffin, Georgia, 23 years old, Michael Cobb Jr.
Michael Cobb Jr.
Michael Cobb Jr.
On the 11th in Midland, Texas, 41 years old, Wesley Wells.
Wesley Wells.
In Little Rock, Arkansas, on the same day, 38 years old, Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson.
In Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, 32 years old, on the same day, Brian Shoring.
Brian Shoring.
And in Texas, the town is not listed and the age is not listed. A man was killed by the police. We don't yet know his name.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Again on the 12th in McAllen, Texas, 37 years old, Delwyn Pinto.
Delwyn Pinto.
Pinto.
Also on the 13th in Fontana, California, 34 years old, Jose Pena.
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 In Pontiac, Michigan, on the same day, 33 years old, a man whose name has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Again on the 13th in Bridgeport Township, I think that's Minnesota, 51 years old, Dion Watson.
Dion
Watson.
On the same day in St. Albans, West Virginia, 53 years old, William Barber II.
William Barber II.
Second.
On the same day in Louisville, Kentucky, 30 years old, Kenneth Clark.
Kenneth
Clark.
On the same day in New York, 43 years old, Kent Edwards.
Kent Edwards.
On the 14th, once again, this time in Mesquite, Texas, 19 years old, Peyton Lawrence.
Peyton Lawrence.
On the 15th, in Monroe, Louisiana, Gerald Battaglia.
Gerald Battaglia.
Again on the 15th, in Grants Pass, Oregon, 48 years old, Kelly Mason.
Kelly Mason.
In Virginia, and the town is not listed, a man whose name is not yet identified.
Cell blocks for killer. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Cell blocks for killer cops. I apologize for cutting you off.
Ashe.
Ashe, I had just finished. It's all fine. Again on the 16th, this time in Phoenix, Arizona, 37 years old, Alton Tungovia.
Alton.
On the 16th in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 19 years old, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Again on the 16th in Charlotte, North Carolina, Sanrico McGill, 33 years old.
Sanrico McGill.
By the way, I'm going to pause for just a moment. The list from the Washington Post is called Fatal Force, only allows you to see 50 victims at a time. And so to see this whole 77 people killed in the last 3 weeks, or the most recent 3 weeks that we have information for, we had to download the entire database of over 9,000 police killings since the Washington Post began this list in order to see the full 77 killed most recently. So I'm reading, I hesitate sometimes because I'm reading from an unfamiliar database and how it's set up. Next, also on the 16th in Austin, Texas, 29 years old, Trey Hernandez.
Trey Hernandez.
In Hosford, Florida, on the 17th, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Again on the 17th in Hillsboro, Oregon, 28 years old, Christopher Andrews.
Christopher
Andrews.
On the same day in Marshall, Minnesota, 41 years old, Jamel Moore.
Jamel Moore.
Jamel Moore.
Once again on the 17th in Martinsburg, West Virginia, 60 years old, Tobias Gainey.
Tobias
Gainey.
Yeah, so there were 6 people the police killed on the 17th of December. The next in Strasburg, Virginia, 40 years old, Melissa Tompkins.
Melissa Tompkins.
Melissa Tompkins.
Next person killed by the police on that same day, another woman in Boulder, Colorado, 51 years old, Jeanette Alatorre.
Jeanette
Jeanette
Alatorre.
Alatorre.
Going ahead to the 19th of December in Roanoke, Virginia, 40 years old, Jeremy Bailey.
Jeremy
Bailey.
Again on the 19th in Portland, Maine, 42 years old, Kyle Desmarais.
Kyle Desmarais.
In Sebring, Florida, on the same day, 39 years old, Richard Ham.
Richard Ham.
On the following day, the 20th, in Detroit, Michigan, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Again on the 20th, someone in Colorado, the city is not identified, nor is the man.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Again on the 20th in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a man, we don't know his age, Tristan Clark.
Tristan Clark.
So,
Okay, it's all right. All this information is hard to accept.
yeah,
So if we say
sorry.
it's not quite right, it's understandable. Zebulon, North Carolina, on the 21st, 59 years old, Samuel Tripp.
Samuel
Tripp. Again on the 21st, this time in Stonington, Connecticut, a man whose age is not known, Vaughn Malloy.
Vaughn.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe.
Ashe.
We do know his name, Vaughn Malloy. We just don't know how old he was. On the same day, the 21st, this time in Raleigh, Tennessee, 31 years old, Jonathan Beatty.
Jonathan
Bailey.
And on the same date, in Weirton, West Virginia, 42 years old, Jason Rose.
Jason Rose.
The following day, on the 23rd, in Monroeville, Alabama, 52 years old, Thomas McMillan.
Thomas McMillan.
Again on the 23rd, this time in New York City, 30 years old, a man whose name we don't yet know.
Cell blocks for killer
Killer
cops.
cops. Ashe.
Ashe. Once again on the 23rd, in League City, Texas, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. On the same day, we're still the 23rd of December in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a woman, 29 years old, Taylor Torres.
Taylor Torres.
On the following day, the 24th, in Somerville, Georgia, 44 years old, John Stiffles. No, excuse me, John Siffles.
John
Siffles. Siffles.
Again on the 24th, in Indiana, we don't know the town, 54 years old, Johnny Wood.
Johnny Wood.
Johnny Wood.
Again on the 24th, in Rockford, Illinois, a man, we don't know his age, Patrick Kirby.
Patrick Kirby.
Yet again on the 24th, in Joplin, Montana, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe.
Again on the 24th, in Colorado, we don't know the town, the age, or the gender, but someone lost their lives to police violence.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe. Once more on the 24th, in Rochester, New York, 46 years old, Todd Novick.
Todd
Novick.
In Georgia, we don't know the town, 44 years old, John. Oh, they listed John Siffles twice for some reason. I guess it's a mistake they made. Okay. Sorry about that. On the 25th, this is Christmas Day, in Brownsville, Texas, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Again, on the 25th in Mount Shasta, California, a person who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer
Cell
cops.
blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
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 On the next day in Garden City, Michigan, 37 years old, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Again, on the 26th in Pueblo, Colorado, 23 years old, Jerome Avalos.
Jerome.
Jerome Avalos.
On the 26th again, Austin, Texas, 63 years old, Conrad Korshahian.
Conrad Korshadian.
Conrad Korshagian.
Again on the 26th in Bismarck, Montana, 21 years old, Caleb Watts.
Caleb Watts.
Caleb Watts.
Again on the 26th in Pisgah, Alabama, 30 years old, Cameron Talbert.
Cameron.
Talbert.
Cameron Talbert.
Talbert.
On the 27th in Jacksonville, Florida, 26 years old, Peyton Pinette.
Peyton
Peyton.
Pinette.
All right, I'm going to pause for a sec and I'll go on. In Portland, Oregon, again on the 27th, 33 years old, Tyrone Johnson II.
Tyrone Johnson II.
On the same day, 27th, in San Bernardino, California, 28 years old, Robert Brown.
Robert Brown.
On the 27th, again in Western Wisconsin, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Once more on the 27th in Greenville, South Carolina, another man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Once more on the 27th in Charleston, South Carolina, 33 years old, Winston Dunham.
Winston Dunham.
Again on the 27th in Lufkin, Texas, a woman, we don't know her age, Aaliyah Anders.
Aaliyah Anders.
On the 27th, yet again, this time in Las Vegas, Nevada, 30 years old, a man who is not yet identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. On the 28th in Woodbridge, New Jersey, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
And they list a second person in Las Vegas. I think it may be their mistake, so I'll move ahead. Also unidentified. On the 28th in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania, 38 years old, Shane Kalick.
Shane Kalick.
On the 29th in Lompoc, California, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. Again on the 29th in Fairhaven, Massachusetts, 55 years old, Paul Corderi Jr.
Paul Corderi Jr.
Yet again on the 29th in New York, 52 years old, Bashe McDaniel.
Ashe McDaniel.
On the 31st, the end of December, Las Vegas, a man who has not yet been identified.
Cell blocks for killer cops.
Ashe. And to read the horrendous 77th, horrendous in the sense of so many, victim of police killing. This is in Cottondale, Florida. A man whose age is not given here, Talmadge Bryant.
Talmadge Bryant.
And I just want to mention one more thing, which is according to the New York Times, from 2005 up until George Floyd's killing, in the whole country, there were only 7 cops accused of convicted of murder, which means that a cop who kills somebody only has a 1 in 2,000 chance, 1 in 2,000 of being convicted of murder. Just wanted to mention that. So that concludes my my sad part for this evening. Mic check.
Mic check.
Tawanda, are you with us?
Bill, if it's all right with you, I'm just going to go ahead and read the sad list from here in Baltimore. Victims of community violence.
All right, let's do it.
This is actually a list that's it's actually 2 weeks old. In the past week, there were 4 killings here in Baltimore, but none of their names have been released, and we'll certainly uphold those names when we get them. But what we do have from the past 2 weeks since we last read the list, on December 19th, Tyrone Fields, 44.
Tyrone Fields.
On December 22nd, Danshawn Stooks, 45.
Danshawn Stooks.
Also on the 22nd, James Venable, 65.
James Venable.
And on the 27th of December, Marone Benjamin, 44.
Marone Benjamin.
Thank you.
Ben, if Tawanda is unable to technically rejoin, perhaps we should go ahead and wrap up with the final video. Ben, you able to hear? It looks like we've lost Tawanda, our powerful host, and technically that is, and the same for our person who's running the broadcast, the live stream, I should say, which is Ben. Why don't we wait about half a minute, and if neither is able to return, we'll call that a wrap.
All right. Ben, if you're back, we were wondering if you could please run the exit video for the evening. By. Thank you.
And Mr. West begging for his life, and Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5, unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you fucking
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges, like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and them large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the Gun Trace Task Force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam, and my sister Dina and her family. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.